Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Rianti Safakila and my NPM is 2010-6310-60119. Okay, so today we would like to discuss about vowel and also consonant. And we are from group 3, and I am not alone here. I also have partner, Rian and also Rofiani.
Hello everyone, my name is Rian Sofian. I'm from A class. My student identification number is 2010-6310-60117.
Hello, my name is Rofiani and my MPM 2010-600-60030.
Okay, so at this moment or at this time, we from group 3 we will discuss about material, vowel and consonant. So we decide to divide it yes, vowel and consonant into 6 material. There are, the first is definition of vowel and consonant. Second is IPA for vowel and consonant in English. The third is monophthong, diphthong, triphthong in vowels. And the fourth is voicing, place and manner. And the fifth is voice and voiceless in consonant. And the last one is vowel and consonant in American and British English. Okay, so let's we start for the first material.
Okay, I will explain about definition of phonology, vowel and consonant. Although our species has the scientific name Homo sapiens, thinking human, it has often been suggested that an even more appropriate name would be Homo logos, or speaking humans. Many species have sound based signaling system and can communicate with other members of the named species on various topics of mutual interest, like processing the year of where the next meal is coming from. Most humans, aside for non-native user of sight language, also use sound for linguistic signaling. But the structure of the human's vocal organs alone a particularly wide range of sound to be used, and they are also put together in an extraordinarily sophisticated way. There are two subdisciplines in linguistics which deal with sound, namely phonetic and phonology, and to fulfill the aim of this book, which is to provide an outline of the sound of various English accents and how those sounds combine and pair together. We will need aspects of both. Phonetic provide objective ways of describing and analyzing the range of sound humans use in their language, more specifically articulatory, phonetic, and identifies especially which speech organ and musicles are involved in organ and muscle are involved in producing the different sound of the word language. Those sounds are then transmitted from the speaker to the ear, and acoustic and auditory phonetic focus on the physics of speech is traveled through the air in the form of sound waves, and even those was have on a hearer's ear and brain. It follows that phonetics has strong association with anatomy, physiology, physics, and neurology. However, also knowing what sound we can impringle, make, and use is part of understanding what makes us human. Each person grows of learning and speaking only a particular human language or language, and each language only make use a sub on the full range of possible, producible, and distinguishable sound. We all know what a vowel sound like, but there are no popular terms for describing how the quality of the vowel differs from that of another. We need to consider more than the acoustic properties we have been considering so far. The frequency, pitch, and intensity loudness of different sound. Vowels can be produced on any pitch within the range of a speaker voice. I can say the vowel in head on a low pitch when the vocal cords are vibrating about 90 times a second. The pitch of my voice will have changed, but the vowel will still have the same quality. I can also say any vowel loudly or softly. The quality, the factor that distinguishes on one vowel from another, remains the same when I shout or talk quietly. Different vowels are like different instruments. One can play connect pitch on a piano, a clarinet, or a violin. In each case, it will be the same note because the rate of repetition of the sound with a vowel, the fundamental frequency, is the same. The quality will be different because the smaller variation within each repetition of the sound wave. The overtones will be different. Similarly, vowel will retain their individual qualities irrespective of the pitch produced by the vocal fold. When we listen to a vowel or a musical note, we can tell which vowel it is or which instrument produced it by the overtones, the octave. The reed of the clarinet or the vocal fold might be vibrating 100 times a second, but the sound that is produced at the mouth of the clarinet or the list will contain characteristic groups or every tones at higher frequency. We can see an indication of this higher frequency. The waveform of the vowel as in father and I as in C, which were reproduced in picture. Many consonants are just way of beginning or standing vowels. This is particularly true of consonants such as B, D, G, each of which has a rapid movement of the lips or tongue before or after another sound, such as a vowel. They are called stop consonant because the air the vocal tracks is complete stop at some point. When forming a B in a word such as big, the lips are firmly closed at the beginning and end of the word. In the case of D, as indeed is the tip of the tongue that blocks the vocal track by forming a closure just behind the upper front teeth. For the G, as is K, the back of the tongue is raised to make a closure against the roof of the mouth. It's the stop consonant form a quickly changing sound. The resonance of the vocal tract, the formants, are being produced while the stop closure is being. According to Franklin Robert and Himes, a vowel is a sound generated without substantial reaction of air moving through the mouth cavity. According to Euler, vowel sounds are generated with a rather unrestricted flow of air, and they are all generally voiced. He wants to say that to characterize vowel sound, we analyze how the tongue impact the front tone which the air flow must pass. Similarly, Ambalagin and Suryani said that vowel sounds are generated by following our tone, varying from of the mouth with sparing position of the tongue and lips and with the airstream generally united by tight passageways except at the glottis. Consonants are sound created with a lot of thickness in the mouth, squeezing the air coming up from the lungs. According to Franklin et al., a consonant is a spoken sound generated with some restriction of the air stream. Segmental phonetic is in English pronunciation include consonant. English consonants are classified as voiced or voiceless. When the vocal folds are pulled together, the air from the lungs continually pushes them apart as a pastel, generating a spreading effect. Conversely, when the vocal cords are spread out, the air from the lungs travels through them uninhibited.
Thank you for the opportunity that I have. I want to explain about International Phonetic Alphabet for vowel and consonants in English. The International Phonetic Alphabet, or known as IPA, is an international symbol used to represent the pronunciations of sounds in various languages. IPA is very necessary because in various languages, the pronunciations or sounds of letter can be different. One IPA symbols represent the one sounds. So IPA has 163 symbols, but a language only uses some of those. From the history, International Phonetic Alphabet was created in 1886 by 3E-ENGLISH and French language instructor. And as the science of speech and phonetics was evolved, so has the number of symbols necessary to express speech and sounds of other language. It's defined by Maurice Wilson in 2004. It is made up of alphabetic characters such as A and Ng, as well as non-alphabetic symbols like colon and apostrophe. As you can see, this is IPA for consonants. You can read it, but there are several parts to you to pay attention. First is place of pronunciations. The locations of place of pronunciations is at the top of the table to show which part is used to pronounce a sound. And then I will explain about bilabials and etc. First is bilabial. The bilabial is using the upper and lower lips. And then labiodental. The labiodental using the upper teeth and lower lips. Next is dental. The tongue is between the upper and lower teeth. Next is alveolar. The alveolar is the tongue touch area behind the teeth. Next is palatal. The tongue touch the hard palate. Next is post-alveolar. The tongue touch the part between the alveolar and palate. Next is velar. Use the back of the tongue and the shaft of palate at the back of the mouth, close to the throat. And number 2 is number 2 for you to pay attention is how to pronounce. It's on the left side of the table to show how to pronounce certain sounds. For explanations is first is plosive. The plosive is stop the airflow completely and then suddenly expel it, producing a pop-like sounds. Next is fricative. The fricative is make of hissing sound. Next is affricate, a combination of plosive and fricative, starting with stopping the airflow completely and then exhaling slowly to produce a hissing sound. Next is nasal. The nasal is expel air through the nose. Next is approximant. The approximant is the mouth is only slightly closed as if to sound a vowel, but the sounds that comes out is a consonant. Next is lateral. The lateral is the center of the mouth is completely closed, so that air flows through the sides of the tongue. Number 3 to you to pay attention in consonant table is voice. For the voice, it can be seen from the positions of the letters in the table. The right part is usually the letter that is sounded, and the left is the part of the letters that is not sounded or voiceless. And then next is IPA for vowels. For IPA for vowels, that is, the table of vowels has a slightly different shape from the table of consonants. It's namely a trapezoidal shape. The shape actually describes our tongue. For pronunciation vowels, there are several things to consider. First is tongue hike. In the table, it is on the left side, which consists of hike, middle, and lower. The higher the tongue, the more closed the mouth is. Next is the positions. The positions of the tongue, whether in front or rear. On the top of the table, which consists of a front, central, and back. So for IPA, I think it's a system where each symbol is associated with a particular English sounds, but not only English. In other language has its own international phonetic alphabet too. In vowels, there are shorts and longs in IPA. For example, like A. A in short vowels is when, intent, send, and letter. And then A for cat, hen, net, flat, and half. And A in fun, love, money, want, London, and come. And then you, good, look, should, cook, book, and look. For O is rock, top, watch, squat, and sausage. And then is A, life, again, and mother. For long vowels is need, eat, and thin. Nurse, hurt, third, and turn. And then tall, low, board, yawn, and jaw. And then few, good, loose, gloomy, fruit, and shoe. And for A is fast, car, hard, and bad. For consonants, like B in bad, or lap, D, did, or lady, and then etc. that you can see or find in Google for IPA or International Phonetic Alphabet to more nouns. And then so this back to the and I think it's enough for me to explain the IPA for you, and thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Now we will discuss about monophthong, diphthongs, and diphthong in vowel. Most of the vowel we've looked at so far have been monophthongs, in which the character of the vowel is pretty consistent from beginning to end. McMahon said that divided vowels into two categories based on the amount of sounds they make. These are monophthong and diphthong respectively. The majority of the vowels examined by English speakers thus far have been monophthongs, in which the vowel's quality is generally stable from start to finish. Monophthong vowels consist of 12. Those are Alright. Based on the features of the articulation, Kelly in 2004 has said that there are three kinds of vowel sound. Include closed sounds of vowel, mid-vowel sounds, and open vowel sounds. Kelly also said that diphthong is the combination of two vowel sounds. There are three types of diphthong sounds based on their features. Include centering diphthongs, closing diphthongs ending in E, and closing diphthong ending in E. Based upon the articulation qualities, there are 3 categories, and McMahon in 2002 said that the vowels are designed for a while with symbol and sound of short vowels. So this is a table of the diphthong and also monophthongs. As you can see, the table is also give you an example. Crouch in 2012 said that diphthongs are the most intricate English sound of the vowel type. It may be quite hard to pronounce and hard to identify. A diphthong is a delay which is generated fast and uninterrupted from one vowel to another and to the third vowel. The diphthong may be determined to consist of 5 narrow A diphthongs. It lists the diphthongs air as in a layer and player, air and as in a layer and fire, oil as in a loyal and loyal, or as in lower and mower, and or as in a power and hour. So that's the explanation about monophthong, diphthong, and triphthong and vowels.
Thank you. The larynx is in the neck at a point commonly called an Adam apple. It is like a box, inside which are the vocal fold to thin flaps of muscle. In a normal position, the vocal fold are apart, and we say that the clothes is often bigger. When the edges of the vocal fold touch each other are facing top, the clothes will usually cause vibration, figure B. This opening and closing is repeated regularly and gives what is called voicing. The only distinction between the first sound of shu and zu, for example, is that is voiceless is voice. The same goes for few and few. Is voiceless is voice. If you know says, or you can either hear the vibration of by sticking your finger into your ears, or you can feel them by touching. The front of your larynx, this distinction is quite important in English, as there are many pairs of sound that differ only in voicing. In the example below, the first sound is voiceless, the other is voice. Pie, buy, try, dry, clue, glue, chow, chow, tie, tie. This distinction can also be made in between two vowels, repeat, repeat, middle, middle, or at the end of a word. Page, pig, leaf, leaf, reach, read. Place of articulation, as we show above, are all voiceless, so there must be another way to distinguish between them, otherwise we would not be able to tell try apart from cry or cry, or pick from tick or kick. apart from the behavior of the vocal folds, sound can also be distinguished as to where in the oral cavity they are articulate. Where in the mouth there is most obstruction when they are pronunciation. Bila-bila sound are produced when the lips are brought together. Example are which is voiceless as in pi or b and m, which are voiced as in by, my. Labiodental sound are made when the lower lips is raised toward the upper front teeth. Example are F, safe, voiceless, and V, safe, voice. Dental sound are produced by touching the upper front teeth, which the tip of the tongue. Example are S, oat, voiceless, and C, cloud. Alveolar sound are made by raising the tip of the tongue toward the right. That is right behind the upper front teeth. Called the alveolar ride. Example are to, su, but, voiceless, and do, zu, nu, look, rook, all voice. Palatoliopolar sound are made by raising the blade of the tongue toward the part of the palate just behind the alveolar ridge. Example, razor badge and razor page. Palatal sounds are very similar to palatoalveolar ones. They are just produced further back toward the phylum. The only palatal sound in English is as in yes, yellow, beauty, new, and it is voice. Velar sounds are made by raising the back of the tongue toward in the soft palate. Call the phylum. Example, bake, voiceless, and both voice, bake, bing. It is velar, which is accompanied with lip rounding. Glottal sounds are produced when the air passes through the glottis as it is not round. Manner of articulation. We can now distinguish between English consonant from two points of view, that of voicing and that of place. We can see that B and T are different in both respect. B is voice and bilabial, and T is voices and alveolar. B differs from B only in B. Voice as both are bilabial and differs from T only in being bilabial as both are voiceless. There are still pairs of sound where we cannot yet describe the difference of one from the other, e.g. B, M, them, man, and as both are voice and bilabial, and T, C, tone, sound, which both are voiceless and alveolar, as the example show. We can, however, tell me word apart. And it is because the sounds are different in a way we have not yet discussed, and this it with respect to their manner of articulation. The manner of articulation has to do with the kind of obstruction the air meets on the iris. While other is has passed the vocal fold. It may meet a complete closure, almost complete closure. or a smaller degree of closure, or the air may escape in more exceptional ways. Around the side of the tongue or throat, the nasal cavity, nasal plosive are shown in which there is complete closure in the mouth, so that the air is blocked for a fraction of a second and then released with a small burst of sound called a plosive. It sounds like a very small explosion. Plosive might be bilabial, P, B, pa, bark, ovular, T, D, tar, dark, ovular, K, G, hard, blood. There is a fourth kind of plosive, the glottals. Stop. The word football can be pronounced without interruption in the middle as in or with a complete closure of the glottis instead, or with a complete closure of the glottis instead. In English, a voiceless plosive that occurs at the beginning of a word and is followed by a vowel. A vowel is rather special in the sense that are at the release of a portion of one can hear a slight but air before the vowel is articulated. Hence, in pain we hear their aspiration, voiceless plosive are not considered to be different sound from unaspirate. Voiceless plosive from the point of view of how they function in the sound system. This difference, which can be clearly here, is said to be phonetic.
For this change, I will explain about voice and voiceless consonants. The sound is voice when the vocal cords are tightly stretched, so they vibrate during the sound's pronunciations. But voiceless sounds is sounds generated without the vocal cord vibrations. If you were to speak, touch your throat softly as you speak it to detect if a sound is voice or voiceless. You might feel a vibrations or buzz in your throat when you utter a voice sound. You can make a silent sound. You may also feel how sounds are spoken through your fingertips. It'll appear louder when you speak a vocal sound. It's not going to be if you say a voiceless sound. So, phoneticists divide consonants into two types, voice and voiceless. Voice consonants require the use of the vocal cords to produce their signature sounds, but voiceless do not. Both types use a breath, lips, teeth, and upper palate to further modify speech. When we sound the unvoiced consonants, the lips, tongue, and throat do not vibrate. Meanwhile, when we sound the voiced consonants later, one of three limbs experience vibrations. The letter of voice is B, D, G, J, L, M, N, R, Z, CH, V, W, Y, and Z. For voiceless consonants is CH, F, K, P, S, S, H, T, TH. Higher vocal cords, which are actually mucous membranes, stretch across the larynx at the back of the throat for voice consonants. And then for voice consonants, by tending and relaxing as you speak, the vocal cords modulate the flow of breath expelled from the lungs. An easy way to determine whether a consonant is voiced or not is to place a finger on your throat. Okay? As you pronounce a letter, feel the vibrations of your vocal cord. If you feel a vibration, the consonant is voice one. But if consonants are only single letter, whether and LZ and TH, there are common sounds that are produced by blending the two consonants phonetically. For the examples is traveled, clothes, shells, started, bills, life, dreams, exchange, hopes, bonds, listen, organize. For voiceless consonants, do not use the vocal cords to produce their hard, percussive sounds. Instead, they are slack, allowing air to flow freely from the lungs to the mouth, where the tongue, teeth, and lips engage to modulate the sounds. There are the voiceless consonants is CH, F, K, P, S, SH, T, and TH. As in thing, common words using them include wash, coat, watch, book, sit, drop, and ears. So, if you want to check voice and voiceless consonants, try to simply speak the sounds without a vowel after that. You listen to after instance, say simply like T, but not tip or tie for practicing T. The vowels will produce vibrations when you say a vowel following T, and pupil will be confused and wrongly suspect that T will be expressed. As you know, many of English consonants create pairs, voice and voiceless sounds, but all of them is voicings, except for B is expressed and T is silenced. But there are no voiceless equivalents for the voice sounds like M for in man, N in nine, R in red, L in like, and W in Y, and Y is like in the yes or U, and voiceless H has no voice counterpart. So it's enough for me, and thank you.
Okay, now this is the last material that we will discuss in vowel and consonant. That we will discuss about vowel and consonant in American English and British English. So what's the difference between American English and also British English? We can see in vowel and consonant. So let's start. Okay, the distinctions between British and American English may be found on several levels, including phonology, vocabulary, grammar, and also semantics. This study, based on looks at the differences in vowels and consonants between American English and British English. 1. British English. A number of tribal migration and invasion have resulted in phonological vowel diversity in British English. Their three dialects gradually merged, resulting in an Old English accent. The Viking invasion, which began as a series of attacks around the 9th century and evolved into a mass migration, and was the second major invasion. Their language eventually blended with the related dialects, and there was a considerable degree of word exchange and borrowing. And also other factors in the past, such as the Normandy colonization of England, also had a big influence on the vowels and consonants that occurred. Since they were not exposed to foreign invasion or substantial external ethnic influence during the modern English period, the people of England pursued a relatively tranquil path of development in their right to language. The language evolved in tandem with countries and the world's political, industrial, and intellectual development. So the second, American English. The English language was first introduced to America by colonists who landed along the Atlantic coast during the 17th century. It was the vernacular of English people spoken in England at the time, and it was the language utilized by Milton and Shakespeare. Three major paths of European immigration to this nation are significant in the history of language and the individual who came there and used English. At the time, the total population was so many people, and with 95% of the population living east of the Appalachian Mountains and 90% coming from various areas of the British Isles. Then when America finally broke away from being a British colony, they modified the accent as well as the vowels and consonant use. American English, which was originally comparable to British English and later adapted to the location and local condition, has also suffered modification from time to time, both vowel and also consonant. According to language researchers, today American English is divided into three primary varieties based on phonological difference: the Northern variety, the Midland variety, and the Southern accent. Okay, so now what's the difference between British English and American English? In British English and American English, every vowel sound has a different value. In many cases, the difference is so great that an accurate transliteration would require a completely different spelling. Even the A of words like cap and hand differs between the two countries. When Englishmen speak them quickly, they often sound like cap and hand to American ears. Some words have shorter vowels in American than the usual long vowels or diphthongs in English, especially in British English. English authorities assign along A in evolution and along E in the words of regal class. But in the United States, the short A and E seem to be dominant vowel in many words over others. There is also a tendency in American English to replace the short A of pen with the long A of sin. Oh, sorry. A of fan with the long E of sin in punishment. The short E from sin, the long E from the line. Sinecure and the short U of some for the long U in cube. It's also different. In English and American usage, there is a strong desire to replace so-called natural vowels with clear vowels in unstressed syllables, especially in everyday speech. So the A of about, E of the, and E of custom are O of heel and U of upper are all reduced to friends. One of the most striking differences between average American vowels and standard English vowels lies in the pronunciation of A, which varies by about 150 words in everyday usage. English generally prefers a broad A of dark, A of dark before with inch and as in loud, concept, French, command, can, buckle, lastly, price, and trust. While most Americans use flat A not only in setup of trails but also in quality. And the fact that A is retained by the English in many words perhaps enough to denote that Americans consider a British first.
Alright, that's all we can explain for vowel and consonant. So let me give you a conclusion. So, phonology is an essential aspect of word pronunciation in language, particularly in English. Furthermore, vowels and consonants make a significant contribution to language problems. There must be a distinction between British and American English, both fundamentally and in terms of the vowels and consonant employed. A nation's vowel and consonant differ because they might be impacted by colonial or other historical influences. Vowels, on the other hand, are classified into three types: monophthong, diphthong, and triphthong. Meanwhile, consonants are classified according to their voice, articulation, placement, and also style. Consonants, on the other hand, are classified as voice or voiceless. Alright, that's all the material that we can explain for vowel and consonant. I apologize if there's a mistake because the perfection is only belong to our